Yeah.
But
I've seen it.
But the like whole thing after that is like, how many people, once they get out of like the most intense thing possible, their next step is, all right, welcome back. Versus what's the transitional period of trying to get connected in with services, maybe doing like a PHP or an IOP, working our way down to something a bit smaller. That's actually something called the Florida model.
Okay.
Not because it's how things are done in Florida. It was just developed at like the University of Florida. But it's if you've heard of the ASAM criteria, those levels like 4.0, 3.5, all that. The higher the number, the more intense level of care. You go from like inpatient and detox down to like a inpatient stay, where I used to work at a 28-day program where people would go there and they'd stay inpatient for 28 days.
Yeah.
Then you got partial hospitalization program, which is usually at least 40 hours a week. And then you drop down to IOP, which is about 9 hours a week minimum. And then you go down to just aftercare, which usually gets skipped over, but insurance loves aftercare. They pay for that like in perpetuity for like full coverage. I remember the one place I worked at that had an aftercare program. We had a dude that had been on it for like 4 years.
Wow.
I asked him one time, like, do you still need this? Why are you still coming? He goes like, I'm the only one that ever shows up and it's free. Why would I not get like free one-on-one counseling once a week? Like,
it's a good deal.
I'm like, fair.
Good deal for him.
Yeah. And then you get to like individual level counseling, which is kind of like set if you do it weekly, monthly, every other month, every other week, all that stuff. And you finally wind up in one that's just called case management, which is just like after somebody has left treatment, I don't like burn someone's file.
Right.
I hold on to it and like 3-6 months down the line, call them up, see how they're doing.
Check in there.
Yeah, just because like I want to know if they're doing okay. And one of the like big things is if something has happened during that time period, the fact that I call actually shrinks the like number of days between relapse and like re-enrollment in some type of a treatment program, whether it's with me or somebody else. That drops from like 180 days down to like 10.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome because that 180 days could be the end of them or permanent consequences in any form, you know?
Yeah. But if you think about like the idea of like jails being that very like residential level, like inpatient treatment setting because you can't go home. Yeah. And then once they get out, they're all the way down at case management because that's called probation and parole.
Right.
Where they're not really getting a lot of services when they go to check in with the PO, but it is the PO that's just checking in on them. Skipped all of these steps in between.
Yeah.
So trying to find something that works its way down, like probably ends up being a lot better. And that was one of the things I kind of appreciated. Like my first internship ever was at a place called Rubicon.
Okay. Yes. I've heard of that.
Yeah. They are no longer Rubicon. They ended up getting bought out by RBHA, and they are now the Richmond Behavioral Health Authority Residential Men's Treatment Center North Campus.
Okay, that's a name.
Rubicon's too hard to say.
Yes.
But at any given time, like half of the residents they had, I can't remember the name of the district, but it was like the Eastern Shore people. Like they would be sent over here for like the last 3-4 months of their sentence to work it out, like while in treatment.
Yeah.
And that one, like, saved taxpayer dollars for jails and all that stuff, started clearing some space, and also made sure that people were getting like treatment during the like final reentry phase, which, yeah, that works. And the fact that we've got a community service board system set up in Virginia, like there's probably some options in different areas. Mm-hmm. Richmond's a bit of a unique case because we have a lot more of that available, but at least not in necessarily like a private sector oriented, because RBHA is the community service board, like that's still the state.
Right.
So the idea of like partnering on that one, I wouldn't expect, say, like Northumberland County to have its own like residential treatment center or something like that, just because that's not how the more rural counties operate.
Yeah.
But having something that we could try and like work some way through some of that stuff would make a lot of sense in the long term.
Do you think there's any evidence for like some people think that are not really supportive of treatment programs that this can be punished out of somebody? Is that even possible?
Technically, yes. However, it's a question of like, what is it that you are trying to do? Where Are you trying to breed compliance, like changing behaviors or changing hearts and minds?
Right.
And if all you're trying to do is just change the behavior, which is what a lot of our kind of punitive system tends to do,
Yeah.
you might do that, but you're not actually fixing the deeper rooted problem, and it's likely to reoccur. It's likely to pop up in other ways. I kind of remember this. There was a little bit of time where I was working for somebody that did an IOP related to VASAP.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they told me when I was doing the interview process and getting involved with it was the people that you're going to be working with are not your clients. I was like, wait, what?
What?
They're like, no, the client is the community. Your job is not to treat their substance use disorder. Your job is to keep them from drinking and driving. I only stayed there for about 3 months.
Yeah, time to go.
It was one of those, like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, the way that you approach things, like, I can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those, you can scare somebody in those one areas, but it's not necessarily going to do things for the long term. And fear is kind of like the motivator behind punishment. You don't want to be punished again.
Right.
But fear is something that does not stay big forever. I mean, go back to remember 2020 when pandemic happened and all the lockdowns went down. And I remember, like, during the first month of that's when spring break was still happening, and you hear all the people complaining about the, like, college kids that were going to spring break and they're not taking this seriously. And, like, you knew somebody that was bleaching their groceries for some unknown reason.
Right.
But, like, the amount of fear that was connected to it in the early days was, like, really heightened.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to like 2 months later, and a lot of the people that were giving crap to all those college kids for going to spring break were then saying, well, of course I need to break quarantine. I need a haircut.
Yeah, I've got to do this or that. Yeah.
And it's like the smallest kind of stuff where it's like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And it's not even one of those, like, we're getting new information or new science at that point. It's just one of those, like, I'm just tired of being at home. Like, the fear waned. It went down.
Yeah.
And that's one of those, like, the inherent problem with a fear-based, like, enforcement thing is it doesn't stay up forever, and it doesn't stay up for long either. That's also the same thing I kind of touched on with the like the 4 points of, like, how people, like, markers for early recovery. That idea of, like, remembering past consequences, that's exceptionally helpful early on.
Yeah. Yep.
But after there's a while that's gone by, it's harder to remember that. That's why, like, you go out to meetings, you'll see old timers that still attend newcomer meetings because they say they want to keep the fear fresh.
Right.
I don't want that. I'm not going to meetings to psych myself out. No.
Get a nice healthy scoop of fear again, you know.
Like, this was a fun way to spend a Friday.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No. What I usually tell people is, like, we have to start shifting the gears somewhere in there where it stops being about the fear. It's not so much what am I running away from, but what am I running towards? So as opposed to, like, here's all the stuff I don't want to have happen. If I start marking, here's all the stuff that I do want to have happen, and I see, like, I can connect, like, because I'm in recovery, it allowed me to do X, Y, Z. Now there's a reason for me to keep doing this because I'm getting positive results, and I know that that's a result, at least in part, of my recovery.
Right.
And that's one of those, like, when I can start drawing those connections together, that's the, like, long term. Fear will get you into recovery. Gratitude and recognizing positive gains will keep you there.
You just remind me of the question I forgot earlier. I see what you're saying, but when you spoke at the jail, there was a few things that stuck with me. And the main one was being grateful for things that are there, not grateful for what you don't have to go through for a negative. Like that really made sense to me. And I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. So, story behind this one, I was at a gratitude meeting early on in my recovery, and I noticed as people were going around, gratitude meetings are just start off where everybody says something they're grateful for.
Yes.
Very popular around Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed a pattern as people went by. Grateful I'm not homeless. Grateful I'm not unemployed. Grateful I'm not starving. Grateful I'm not in jail. I'm not. Mm-hmm. And it gets to me, and I'm kind of sarcastic. Trying not to swear, but
it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I go, I'm grateful I'm not currently on fire. Most people would see that as a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Problem though is, where did I set my bar?
Yeah.
Like, that is on the floor. I'm not actually appreciating anything that is happening around me. It's all about all the stuff that I still don't want. And like, what's the flip side that we can attach to that? As opposed to saying I'm grateful I'm not homeless, I can say I'm grateful for the place I have to stay. And that not only serves the purpose of pointing at something that is there that I can like recognize and appreciate, but it also gives me a roadmap of gratitude being a verb. It's, what am I going to do about it? Because I don't know if you've ever met somebody who says like they're grateful for their car, but then you see it and they've got a mountain of trash that takes like 5 minutes to clean
Yes.
off the passenger
It's
seat.
like a storage unit.
It's like, yeah, I don't know how well you're actually grateful on that one.
Right.
I don't enjoy cleaning. Vacuuming is a pain in the butt. I got 2 cats. It freaks them out. It's just so boring. I don't like it. Some people enjoy it. They're weird.
Right.
So for me, if I'm going to like vacuum and take care of my place, because I'm an adult is not a good enough reason.
No.
But if it's, I'm grateful for my place because it's mine, like this is something that has given me a ton of opportunity and options, yeah, I'm going to take care of it. That's giving me the actual energy to follow through. It's the same thing if you say like you're grateful for your relationship, but haven't said I love you in 10 years. I have treated that couple multiple times.
Okay.
Saying something without actually acting upon it doesn't really mean anything. So if we're going to do this, then we need to actually showcase it. And by taking care of it, it gives me a sense of purpose and meaning in my actions. So it's not just kind of like wandering through life anymore.
Right.
Like, what did I do today? Like, I vacuumed the house. Like, oh, well, you're an adult, you're supposed to do that. Like, that sounds the most boring and contrived ever, versus I took care of my place, and I'm actually really proud of myself for doing it, because I don't like doing it, but I really appreciate my place, and it gave me a sense of meaning.
Yeah. It's quite awesome. How would you apply that to some of these people coming out of into early recovery? Like what can they be grateful for? Like if they just detoxed or just got out of jail, you know?
That one gets a little bit harder, because I don't know about you, but I had kind of like everything had been on fire for a while when I came into early recovery.
Oh, yeah, I can relate.
And I was still very much like that first 90 days. I was not in a headspace where I was able to easily recognize a lot of the positive stuff that was happening. And it wasn't until later when I got a deeper appreciation for it. But if there's things where I can appreciate in the moment, like a kind word, or somebody who actually like took the time to listen, like that was one of those other wild things that I still remember working at the clinic. I gained a reputation while I was there where somebody would say like, you're really good with difficult clients. No, do not start that.
Right.
But what I found is most of the people that like were labeled as difficult clients, they reminded me a lot of me, where it's just, they wanted to be heard. And I kept running into personality conflicts with the other therapists and counselors, because they all just were kind of had the attitude of, I don't have time to actually listen to you. I will tell you what your problem is and what we're going to do. Whereas like sometimes people just want someone who's trying to be polite at the very beginning, and like show an active interest. And because I was able to do like the very basic stuff, suddenly like 90% of all of the like issues and problems just went away, because it's like you're treating somebody like a human and not as like a number or a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And when seeing that stuff, being able to recognize like, hey, this person like actually cares, saying thank you, because the thank you isn't for them, it's for you to acknowledge, like, you acknowledge my humanity and I appreciate that. I matter.
Yeah.
Because if I actually believe it when people tell me that I matter, I might start believing it too.
That's a good thing. How much do you think, in your experience, just because you have a different perspective than we do here in the peer support world, how much that self-image and self-respect like has to do with long-term success?
I think that that's one of the things that it really digs into a lot of the longer term aspects. I'm reminded of, I had a coworker once who wrote her graduate thesis on the difference between self-esteem and self-worth.
Mhm.
Self-esteem is tied to the roles we inhabit, where if I'm good at my job, I can feel proud about that. I feel better about myself when I'm doing a good job, so I might lean into doing that because it's something I excel at, what have you. If I'm a good parent, I like being a parent because I'm good at it. Like, that's what raises that esteem piece where I feel like I'm actually like doing well in whatever it is I'm trying to do. Self-worth, on the other hand, is completely detached from anything. It is entirely just, do I as a person have inherent value?
Mhm.
And yes, every person has inherent value, inherent worth. The only way that we can raise that is by changing the way that we talk to ourselves and not putting ourselves down 24/7, and establishing and enforcing boundaries,
Mhm.
which that's another, like, I'm gonna go on like so many tangents today, but
That's fine. We're all about tangents here, and getting the tangent. That's what we call this podcast.
so boundaries, a lot of times people think about boundaries as like, I'm setting a boundary with you.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. I am setting a boundary with myself. I am telling you what my boundary is. So, for example, I tell you, I am not going to answer the phone if you call me outside of the 9 to 5. If
Mhm.
we're working together, it's like, I don't answer work calls after hours.
Right.
And then you call me and I answer the phone. That on you or me?
Yeah, you. In my
I'm the one
opinion,
that
yeah.
answered the phone.
Right.
Like, that's me not enforcing my own boundary that I set with myself. Now, I can't really get mad at you if I never told you that I don't answer the phone past 6, but that's really the extent to, like, I can establish these are the things that I'm going to allow,
Mhm.
and like, what am I going to allow myself to engage with, and when do I point a, like, that's going to be a bridge too far and I'm walking away from it.
Right.
It's some of the same stuff where I've had a lot of people that I've worked with, like through SMART Recovery, that work as like house leaders at sober living and stuff.
Mhm.
And like, they'll get text messages during meetings and things like that, and like start responding and all this, and then complain to me. It's like, I can't believe all the like people that are at this house just keep texting me, and like, they know you're in a meeting, right? Yeah. Why are you responding?
Right. Right.
Like, that's one, you're not taking like enough care of your own responsibility or like your own recovery, but
Mhm.
two, you're also not communicating to them that recovery time, like being in a meeting, is being in a meeting.
Yeah, reflecting back what they need to do in the future.
Yeah, I'm setting a bad example by doing that. And the idea for like raising the self-worth is like, I start saying that I matter because I'm going to put in the effort and time to like prioritize my own health and wellness,
Yeah.
and start to build that over time so that it gets better. Now, thinking about where does the origin point on a lot of these things that we might have, our negative self-image, our negative self-talk, automatic negative thoughts, all of that stuff. Usually that's tied to something from like us growing up, negative experiences, just the way that we were taught to view the world, all of these things. I old clinical director of mine specialized in something called schema therapy, which schema is like the way we orient and like center our thoughts around kind of like core beliefs, like clusters of them. And there's one that I swear he diagnosed literally every single person with:
That comment. Yeah.
unrelenting standards.
Mm.
The idea of being a perfectionist. Nothing I do is ever going to be good enough. Like, if I get a 99 on a paper, all I see is that one point I got wrong.
Right. Never satisfied. Yeah.
The fact that that's what I keep seeing and keep focusing on is probably a major contributor as to why I keep seeing myself so poorly. I'm not acknowledging this like 99 points I got right.
Right.
Which, yeah, I felt called out when he like mentioned that, because I was like, man, I got 100 on my final paper in grad school. I argued the comment section.
There you go.
But that's one of those, realizing I need to do some internal work to kind of get around that, which in SMART Recovery, that's part of the like ABC tool, activating event. triggers a like belief regarding the event, which that belief is what actually leads to the consequence that comes from it. And those belief systems are the things that really need a lot of focus and starting to change to do like long-term benefits. In 12-step, that's called a fourth step.
Yeah.
That's looking at like, what's my part in things? Like, what am I bringing to the table that's leading to these things? Like fourth step's all about resentments. So why is this a button for me? Why does this bug me so much that even years later it's still bothering me? It's because that's touching something that's probably a really ingrained negative belief about myself. When I start to work on those, I start having a better life in general because I'm not so much stuck in a lot of those same things. That kind of circling way back to the beginning of this, mentioning like the topic of anxiety came up at one of my meetings a couple weeks ago. Anxiety treatment or like just information or talking about anxiety, that's not necessarily part of SMART Recovery's toolbox or anything, but 100% we want to talk about anxiety. I will talk about anxiety. Let's go in on this, because if you start to view the idea of like the use, whether that's like substance or behavioral, that's a like symptom. That's not the root cause. Like a lot of do we change the behavior or do we like address what's underneath?
Right.
So if I'm addressing the mental health struggles and trying to get somebody in a place where they're not stressed out all the time, they're not anxious 24/7, like imagine somebody who their drug of choice was benzos, anxiolytic. Like, yeah, if they're taking something to deal with anxiety, congratulations, taking your anxiety medication. What do you think the chances are this person has a lot of anxiety right now?
Right.
We need to deal with that anxiety.
Yeah.
So giving them tools and ways to approach and deal with that is resolving a core issue that underlies a lot of this stuff to begin with. So you've got the anxiety piece, you've got depression stuff that is highly common. I used to call out, I had a coworker once that kept saying, like he kept leaning on that idea of like addiction is the only disease that tells you don't have a disease.
Yeah.
Not true. Like addiction, like the technical term for that would be insight, like insight into whatever it is that we're doing or what have you, which I'm sure you've met somebody at some point, their doctor said your cholesterol is through the roof. You need to stop eating bacon or you're going to have a heart attack.
I've
like,
heard that myself.
Yeah, he's a quack.
Like, right. I don't trust that guy.
Yeah, you don't say. Like insight is something that goes across everything. But beyond that is like all the substance use disorders and a lot of the process disorders, like all of them too, are all in the OCD cluster, obsessive compulsive disorders, because like the key motive or key factor, like parts of them are obsession over something and compulsively doing it. So you got classic OCD, you've got all the substance use disorders, you got gambling disorder, you've got all of the like the eating disorders are in there too. You've got something called PICO, which is people that eat weird stuff like couch cushions and things. Trichotillomania, which is hair pulling disorders, hoarding, like all of those things. It's one of those, like, that's where our brain is also telling us, like, this isn't the problem. This is the solution to the problem.
Yeah, this is how we fix it. We
and
fill the house with newspaper.
Trying to break that like habit is one of the key aspects in there, but you also need to address like where's that coming from in the first place.
Right.
So I would get on him for that one, just because I don't want people like pigeonholing this idea of like there actually is a term in AA where they call it terminally unique.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Where it's like I'm so special and unique that the rest of this stuff couldn't possibly apply to me. Like, if somebody doesn't carry an anxiety or a depression diagnosis, that doesn't mean I'm never going to talk about anxiety or depression around them, because those are still just helpful tools, even if you don't qualify for the actual like diagnosis.
Right.
Like, you telling me you've never been anxious and wouldn't like be able to use some type of like grounding techniques or something, like that's across the board just generally helpful. So
yeah, I would think so. I mean, like somebody has to have surgery or they've got a parking ticket or that they haven't paid, something like that. There's always a source of anxiety in our lives. But well, this has been really good. I think we've done an hour now. So we really appreciate you coming, Chris. Do you have any words of wisdom out there for somebody that's listening to this and thinking maybe I should go get myself together?
Be kind to ourselves. This is kind of, I'm going back to a bit of the, like, brought up COVID earlier, but like, I knew plenty of people who were kicking themselves 6 months in or like a year into like lockdowns of why didn't I write the great American novel while I was stuck at home?
Yeah.
We were going through probably the most stressful point in our entire lives, dealing with something that we have never dealt with before, and yet somehow holding ourselves to a standard that ridiculously high.
Yeah.
This is going to be difficult. We're probably going to be dealing with a whole lot of new things we haven't before. Trying to trust the process, being kind to ourselves throughout it, and being open and honest about stuff. Finding not necessarily like the massive crowd of people, but at least the few people that we can actually like be legit, authentic, tell here's everything.
Yeah, that's huge, I think.
If something's not working for me, being honest about that is a key thing. Like, I end my SMART meeting every week by like doing checkouts where I ask the same 2 questions to everybody. What is something you got out of the meeting, and what is something you're going to do for your recovery?
Mhm.
And this is something I pulled from my like clinical work because, well, for one, that was how I wrote case notes. Because what'd you get out of the group? You just gave me your case note.
Right.
What are you doing for the like your recovery in the coming week? You bought me time to write your case note. But 2, that reflecting back, what is it that stuck out to me that I got out of this?
Yeah.
Like, that helps ingrain it. It's kind of the idea of like a homework assignment. By repeating something back ourselves, we're more likely to lock it in. And the recovery in the coming week is just forward planning, like setting that up. And then if I'm coming back next week and I told people, hey, I was going to clean my room.
Yeah.
Somebody can ask me, hey, did you clean your room? That's an accountability buddy right there.
Right.
But I tell people it's not something that I'm doing to like fluff myself up or like, yeah, stroke my ego. Yay. Like, no. If somebody says like what they got out of this meeting was nothing, like they really just got that this wasn't their path, I understand.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And like that kind of to me is still progress because it tells them, okay, this doesn't work well for me. I was able to take something off the board. I can now go somewhere else to try and focus up more. And to me, that's like the really key important aspect to a lot of this is like recovery is not one size fits all.
Definitely not. Yeah.
I got told all the time when I was like early on, it's not Chris Anonymous. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to change these organizations, but I can adapt and take in what I can from these organizations that works best for me. And I need to be open and willing to listen and give it that college try, but I need to also acknowledge when something doesn't work out well. Because I heard all of the time, that idea of fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, pretend this is working until it eventually does.
Or it doesn't. Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all remember that first step where you acknowledge that something's not working?
Mm-hmm.
Are we ignoring that part? A lot of times people go with the fake it till you make it is like you need to actually try,
right.
Which I still adhere to. No, you do actually need to try. Like going to a meeting ever is not like the end of it.
Yeah.
Like putting in the effort and going forward with it, to me, that's not faking it. That's actually like giving it an honest try. Faking it is just not really doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
So that to me is kind of the key aspect of plan A doesn't work. It's time for plan B, and keep going through them until starting to find some type of collection of things that is giving positive results that I want to see, and checking in on those over time, because what I wanted in that first 90 days of recovery is not what I want now as I'm walking into, I'm 2 weeks out from 13 years.
Excellent. Congratulations. That's serious.
If my recovery looked the same today as it did 90 days, something went horribly wrong.
Time for some self-reflection, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you mentioned that like 6 months to a year at sober living. Like, I think I asked the founder of this place once, like what the record was, and he said it was like 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, we had to kick him out,
right?
Because that's one of those like failure to launch.
Yeah, at a certain point,
like need to be able to grow and move forward. That we change in life. So checking in from time to time to say, what is it I actually want and what are my bigger goals that I'm going towards? Generally good practice.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. You want to tell everybody where and when your SMART recovery meeting is? I'm not going to tell them how close it is to us right now because we're about 15 feet away. But
so I run mine out of Hatcher Memorial Baptist Church, which is somewhat mixed messaging, considering SMART is seen as kind of like the secular aspect. But hey, y'all haven't charged me rent in 6 years, so
yeah, it's a nice place to have a meeting.
We are in the chapel. Again, mixed messaging, but hey, it accommodates the bigger space because we've been getting more and more people recently. We meet Friday nights at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7.
Excellent. I've been there. I encourage you guys to check it out. Like, you never know what's going to make that big difference for you. So give it a shot. And thank you, Chris, for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have you on again.